Like everybody's busy this summer. I went to San Francisco and then Denver for work and realized how other people spend their summers. They're like, it's so warm here. It's 70 degrees. I was like, oh, wish it were 70 degrees in Houston. Summertime, that would be fantastic.
Where did you go to?
First to San Francisco and then to Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, I do. I've been to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and cross the border to
Santa Fe, isn't Santa Fe supposed to be real pretty? I haven't been, but I heard it's real pretty.
Oh yeah, it is.
Were you born? You were born in Houston though, right?
Well, I was born in Texas, but I was born in Yorktown. You know where that is?
Isn't it near? Wait, you might need to tell me. I thought I knew, but now you questioned it, and I don't know if I know. Hang on.
It's between Victoria and San Antonio.
Why was I think I'm thinking of something else. I was thinking about because my grandfather grew up in Del Rio. I guess I thought it was closer to there. But when did you move to Houston, the Houston area?
1962.
So yeah, you've been here a while.
Yeah.
And you've always lived in that house on Fashion?
Yeah.
So you saw some pretty rough times in the 90s and early 2000s?
Yeah. We had a lot of gangs.
Yep.
And that was terrible because they killed people over there on Lockwood.
You didn't feel like you needed to move?
Yeah. They didn't bother us, so.
It's funny that you say that. I served on a grand jury last year. One of my big takeaways was, generally speaking, if you're not going out looking for trouble, you don't really get into trouble.
Yeah.
It was pretty shocking how true that statement is. And I just always remember, don't go looking for trouble. And I was like, yeah, whatever, I'm gonna do what I want. But like, I was such a dork growing up. I'm still a dork. But like, my hangout was like going to Starbucks with my friends and stealing the frappuccinos that nobody would take. Which is nothing compared to what other people were doing. So. But yeah, I lived in the area briefly while I was at University of Houston. So I got to know the area actually pretty good. Like shopped at the Kroger and everything when I was at U of H. And then got married way too young. Subsequently divorced too young. You know how that goes.
Yeah, I was divorced too. Been divorced for quite some time.
Yeah, and it's funny because like I don't want to have kids, so I'm like,
you don't have any kids?
Just dogs, and they're enough. There.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have this one. I just adopted a puppy. I say a puppy. He's like 8 months old. And he's
what time?
I don't know. I don't know exactly. I think he is a cattle dog mixed with a Staffordshire Terrier. He is the silliest dog I've ever met. Like literally does a roll on you whenever he sees you. He's very silly.
How many dogs do you have?
I just have the two. I had another one, but he passed away. He was a diabetic, and his diabetes, no matter what we did, just was not under control. I mean, and he was just getting worse and worse, and he started getting some really nasty infections, and I just couldn't let him suffer anymore. He was cute. He was a jerk though. Hated everyone. But he was little, nobody was afraid of him. Then I have Harper. She's a cattle dog. She's very sweet. I mean, unless you're on the other side of the fence and she hates you. But that's a good dog. It's okay. So did you find out for real if the business at 4429 is moving?
Yeah, they are.
Good.
They're supposed to be moving this month. Yeah, because their lease is up this month.
And you know what? First, do y'all need help?
I do, yes, cause Kyle is, well, like, he'll be coming late.
Oh my god, yeah, I saw his note and he was like, here's my update. And I'm like,
Yeah, he's running late. He's gonna get like another.
I think he, yeah, I think he has a new job and he has to buy. But the first letter going to the new tenants, they need to follow you restrictions.
Yeah.
That's the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's an HISD, what do you call it? Graduation? Because Amy Erickson and Paulo Sullivan are there,
Oh,
an 8th grade ceremony.
oh, I see. I don't know.
You go to school, don't you?
Ours, cause the thing is like ours runs different, like ours is tomorrow. And anyone else is like, if we have it in, we're gonna have it at Smart Financial. While everyone else has it at NRG, because we pay to do that Smart Financial. It's different than we run.
Y'all are just a whole different world.
Yeah, we're now. HIV, but then yes, we are. Do you know how to?
Yes and no.
Kinda.
Maybe.
Maybe.
We will find out.
Cause he does it so well.
We will see just how well Kyle taught me this. He's taught me some of these things with me, not all.
I know it's like, I know he's talking, but it's been a while.
Ah. So I know he usually has his stuff high, but I don't know what it does. Other than. Sit there.
Here.
Okay, so there's those.
Okay, but first we gotta do the speaker on top.
Probably a good call.
Yeah.
Because short people can't reach tall.
Yes. That's us. They're too tall. That's what
They're
it
just
is.
too
Not-
tall.
We are not short. They are too tall. Okay, so. This one.
I think this song is so Did y'all have 50s day in your school? I even had a police start and they used to play this song. They used to have 50s day when we were in school.
You always have to down today.
We had Western Day. You know, square dancing.
Yes. Yeah, I remember having that on my school. The one I like a lot is like anything but a backpack.
Okay.
That one goes all loud. Oh. It's not coming out?
No.
Huh.
Why so silly? You can vote. You should shoot them. I thought it was like elephant.
Hey. And then.
Okay.
Okay, so
This is the part.
this is where all the cables go and everything. Those are in the blue background. Okay, so I think this is power cable.
We probably need that.
Okay,
I think this is a microphone cable.
so
This is a microphone cable. We need like an aux, kind of get this thing. This is one. This is two. This one goes across the room.
this one is connected to.
I think you told me to plug this in once, and I was like, wait.
One goes here. Okay, and then.
Hi. Good. We're here. We're just figuring things out.
Okay, so this one goes here. That thing is plugged. And then. This is the one that goes all the way.
Yeah, that one, because that one's longer.
That one's long, so then. This one is connected. And I don't know where this one came from.
I don't know, but I'm putting these over here so we can press.
The little straps, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Find it. Side. Somewhere. Is it going to the right side?
Oh. Oh, it's this side? No, it goes in the front.
Microphone.
Okay, so. No. No, he said the speakers go in the back, now I remember, okay, but, yeah, the speakers we go in the back. I don't think he had a receipt on that. Is this just left, right, right, is this down far?
Guess we'll find out.
And then.
This is a microphone. This is a microphone cord, but you need the actual microphone.
Okay.
I know what to do from here, I think.
Okay, so
What do you
Mike's already here.
I know what to do, I think. I know he sometimes has two. Let's just try one. What? I'm just like plug in.
No, because he plugs into this, so we gotta plug this,
What?
so that way they go cordless.
Since when?
We've been cordless, haven't we?
No.
No. I thought we were cordless. Isn't it one of these? No? No?
Because these are even batteries.
What about this one? Yeah, this one. But where do you plug it to?
I was just asking.
No, we put the batteries. There's batteries in here. They're cordless.
I thought that they had cords and we hadn't had the. Try it. We'll just.
Okay. We'll do it. No, we gotta know it.
We're gonna figure this out. We are going to do this. Kyle's gonna come in and have one less thing to do.
It's gonna be like.
He's
Wow.
gonna be so excited.
Okay, how do you open this? Do you have to open it? I don't, because we can put the batteries. Yeah, because I remember he took out batteries last time. And then, so we need to plug this thing. Which one is the power source? Do you have the power source for this one? No, right? Is that the, no, it's not a power source, right?
No.
This is a power.
Is it?
Because then what we need to do is we need to plug that one to the system. No, like a power, like to turn this, no, would this one need to be power cord? Let me borrow that
Or,
one.
I was about to say, it looks like a power.
Hold on.
I probably did that.
Okay. We're gonna make this work. Gonna be at full.
Oh, this is a really.
Okay, I don't see anything that goes to you there. For that.
Might like feel, I just don't understand what is going on here.
Okay, this one's don't go here. We did make go.
That one does go in here.
Oh, yeah? Oh, yeah, okay. You wanna go with that one? And then this one goes here.
Why did Kyle get such a complicated setup?
Then
Oh,
this
I
is-
got it. Oh,
You need it better? Okay.
it's fine.
Yeah. Okay, but this thing is not turned on. So then, does it need a power? Yeah.
I thought it needed power.
It's a two.
Did you check this?
Now, what is that? Is that a power?
It's a power.
Okay,
It's a
great.
plug. Yeah.
Oh, that's one. So then. Just as very keen on this. Sounds like it's gonna be the last of us.
We actually have to get through it though. Is that the end of this off and now I don't know where it is. I don't know if that was the right thing. I just found it.
Oh, it's in
Okay. Okay, so this one is,
I gotta talk. Okay.
the only thing that I have lost in this is the edge. Oh wait, you were playing with this one. Hang on.
Is it there? Is it inside the box? Yeah, cause I removed that thing to the top.
There's a whole bunch of other here too. Is this?
It's not here?
How do you know it's on? Should it light up? Is there a button?
Here,
Well, that was a mute button.
yeah, but it's also. There you go. Okay. So it is on.
This has been a lovely show for the last. I can fix if it's on a computer. But this is a whole.
Yeah. I thought no one that runs first, second, hour past that. Which is like. Okay. The car, okay, so should it be on this one instead? But yeah, okay, so he said. You need to stand, hold it, you need to stand behind go ahead and stand behind.
Stand behind
Yeah.
it? Does that,
I'm
no?
gonna test it, okay?
Oh my God.
Alright, over there, no, hold on. Hold on. Alright, so make sure. Try it now. Okay, so try it.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay.
Alright, test it.
Oh yeah, does this work? It works. Oh my gosh, we did it.
Alright, alright, so I keep saying, so when I test it, I could, like, you could.
Yeah, but don't make it that loud. That's really loud.
Okay, I
Yeah,
don't
we-
know, so just, I'm here in the sitting here, that's
We're
not,
having a great time.
is that good? Does that sound good?
Can y'all, whoa, this is.
Yeah, we can hear you.
You might turn it down just a little, just a little. Okay, that's good.
Is that good? Alright,
Oh my gosh, we did it.
Yeah, that's.
yay.
Kyle was running behind, so we
Yes, okay.
Good job.
Good job, Kyle, we're proud of us.
Feeling good?
Okay.
Feeling okay?
I'm actually feeling better the last few days than I had been. I've been feeling really crappy and then found out I was anemic, that's why.
That would probably play a role in not
Yeah,
feeling that
so
good.
I'm feeling better now, which is good, got a little bit of energy back. Today, it's something's wrong with emoji.
He
Turn
told
his
me,
leg or
yeah, he told me that. I was like, gosh, if my dogs weren't off the wall, I'd go get them.
I know, yeah. Yeah, he's doing okay. Yeah. Yeah, I was listening to Kane's scholarship.
Yeah,
Like,
and he looked okay. Like he,
I just feel, I know he had close, like he had had AFib like twice that day. Before coming, and he's on the highest dose of like the worst of this. My
gosh,
mom was on it. You can't stay on it. It causes a lot of like it damages your thyroid, your kidneys, your lungs. It's a bad, terrible medicine. So you can't stay on it forever.
No.
Even that, the highest dose, it's like the last resort medicine. So,
I'm
counting the days. till
yes,
summer.
Thursday, that's it.
Oh, Thursday? Okay,
Thursday's the
good.
last. So, yeah, we're just doing the final.
Amazing.
soon, so
Yeah.
that's it.
Okay.
I mean, there's been maybe some editors sick. That makes sense. We're not gonna say anything. Maybe they'll actually show up and call.
it's under the box.
Okay, but. Okay. I saw a, you drive right by the, you go first and then run right by it. Thank you. It's, Nothing coming through?
I think so. The only one I know Amy Erickson's not gonna be there. I think Emily might be, I think she's coming. I'm not sure. Um. Wait, sorry, I'm thinking to myself. I always put everything together and then I remember things last minute. I talk to you. I know, it's fun. I should play it a little louder so people can feel comfortable talking.
What's wrong? You need me to,
No. So I tried to call him back. Some reason nobody answered.
really?
I sent Paul to go see if her daughter can go check on her.
Yeah.
Should take him out.
Okay. Um. Did my pictures come through?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. You gonna mention Cape Center stuff?
Yep.
Okay.
We gotta start preparing everybody for that change. Song is annoying me. Claudia. Thomas is outside. Catherine might be outside. Yeah. That's fine. We're gonna give everybody just a few more minutes, so just hang tight for just a second. How are ya? Yeah.
And our guys, yeah. Just so to do it, so you guys been told to do it, that was the 15. When they're like, yeah, we need to change it. Okay, everyone's gonna say, you change it. So are you? By the way. So it's just a good idea. Okay.
So as much as I want to leave Mrs. Robinson playing for y'all, we'll turn it back on when we're over. So happy Monday, happy June. It's hard to believe it is already halfway through the year. I don't like that. Summertime is here for teachers, so it's always a time to celebrate. So just to say, we're gonna let people kind of come in as they sign in. My intention today is for everybody to feel heard and empowered and informed after leaving today. So with that being said, I call this meeting to order. So we're going to just say hello to some new faces. So if there's one person from elected officials we see, we're going to potentially say hello. Treasurer and secretary report. We're going to go through a keynote speaker, committee updates, community updates, and then we'll adjourn from there. So raise your hand if this is your first time visiting. I promise I'm not going to make you introduce yourselves. I just want to say welcome and thank you so much for coming. And I would I really hope that you find this meeting to be informative and helpful and you continue to come on in. So I see Sally. I don't know if District I has any updates, but Sally from District I, Councilmember Martinez's office is here. If you just wanted to say hello.
I have a quick update.
Sure.
We have a disaster resource meeting coming up June 28th at HCC Southeast. You'll be seeing more information and a flyer come out. And I hope everybody's receiving our newsletter. If you're not, please. It's very informative. Are you finding that to be true, Lindsay?
I think it is. And then I include anything I can into whatever I send out from the super neighborhood and I try to post online too. All right, so for anybody who didn't hear online, there is a disaster relief resource coming up on June 28th. Details to be coming out soon, so we'll wait to hear on that one, but we want to make sure we're all prepared for hurricane season because last year Hurricane Beryl surprised us all. So sure, yeah.
We have a date in place yet for the next public meeting about it?
Not as of yet. Okay, thank you. As soon as something, we will let you know. Okay? Any other questions? Sorry for that.
No, you're good.
Thank you.
Oh.
Anybody have any other questions? Okay, June 28th, HCC Southeast, 9 to 11 resource there on disaster preparedness, okay? Thank you.
Perfect. We will share that when we get information. All right, Kulani, I know you just got, I know you just got in. Hate to make you stand back up.
Okie dokie. Hello, everyone. All right, our current balance right now is $24,398.78. Everything was taken out so far, which is, we had like $1,025 in our paid for our insurance. We had a Canva for our computers and our Edu storage. So that's our current balance is $24,398.78.
Thank you so much. All right, great. Thank you so much. All right, we are going to move into the meeting minutes.
Okay.
From May.
Yes. All right, good evening, everyone. So for this last month, on the month of May, in our meeting, we had Representative Christina Morales' office coming up with the latest updates. We had a couple speakers. We have the Houston Permitting Center and the Gold Bar Foundation. Definitely with the Houston Permitting Center, they talked a lot about like the different permits and situations which were documented on our minutes. And also all board of directors and general membership meetings so far for this year are already up on the website, on the ECA website. So if you go to the website and you find the Google Drive, you will find all the minutes that for this year so far. So there's a lot, like especially for last month with the permitting center, they share a lot of links about the different resources about like the permits and everything in the entire Houston area. So if you want to know about like any permits or anything that's happening in the neighborhood that you're not aware of, or like you want to know if anyone's up to code or anyone's made a complaint about it, that you can follow it up on all the websites that are there. So that way people can follow up on that. And then there's also some the Gold Bar Foundation, which is trying to raise some funds for the Gold Park that we're trying to do along the Columbia Tap Trail. That's there's another one, and then the other thing, if you would like to sign up for one of our committees, we have the QR code as well as the link. If you guys see that, you can take a picture. You can try to scan it. You'll be able to join any of our committees. And once you sign up, one of the chairs will reach out to you just so that we can get caught up and updated, and we'd like to let you know about the next meeting so forth. And then I think that's it. And then the other one, we would like to encourage anyone if you'd like to be a block captain. We do have some areas in the neighborhood which we would like to have a block captain for, which they are the people that are in charge of the green signs that you see around the neighborhood. We're inviting people to come to our meetings. Yeah, any questions? All right, thank you very much.
All right, so I need a motion to approve the meeting minutes for May 2025.
I so moved.
Okay, I need a second. Clay seconded. Any discussion to approve the minutes for May 2025? No discussion. All right, all in favor? Any opposed? Perfect, motion passes. Great. Getting better at that. All right, so now we're going to hear from our very own county attorney, Christian Menifee. If you want to come on up and say hello and introduce yourself and what the county attorney does.
Sure. Anytime I see the word keynote, I always get really nervous. Good evening, everybody. I'm Christian Menifee. I'm the Harris County Attorney. I will start with, raise your hand if you know what the county attorney does. Judge, you got to keep your hand down. I can't do it. No, all right, no clue. When I was running for office back in 2020, I started off my campaign pitch when I was talking to people, hey, I'm Christian Menifee. I'm running for Harris County Attorney. I am not running against Kamal, because most people thought that the county attorney was the district attorney. So in Harris County, we have a district attorney that prosecutes all felonies and misdemeanor. Okay, so you break a law, you commit a crime, it's the DA that's going to bring charges against you. My office does exactly 0 of that. Okay, we do no criminal at all. We are the civil legal office for the county, which still means nothing. So I'm going to break it down more for you. We have 3 main hats. Hat number 1 is we're the legal department, okay? I'm sure many of you have worked in corporations before, and before you can get a contract drafted, before you can make a major decision, you got to go clear it with legal. We're legal for the county. Doesn't sound like that big of a job. County Attorney's Office is over 300 attorneys and staff. And we're the legal department for Harris County government, which is more than 18,000 employees. So Harris County is a, you know, medium-sized corporation. So that is the main function of the office is people try to get contracts drafted. Commissioner's Court is trying to make a major decision. The constables have you know some issue that they have come up. The sheriff is trying to decide what to do with the jail. There's a number of things, and we are the legal counsel when that happens. Okay, so that's the boring stuff. Nobody really pays much attention to that. Second thing is we're the shield. So whenever county officials get sued for any number of reasons, and they get sued a lot all the time, we are counsel for them. We represent them in the lawsuits. So the best way to think of it is a shield, right? Folks in the county, including employees, if they get sued for anything related to the scope of their employee, let's say that an employee is driving in a county vehicle, heading from one work spot to another, they get into a car accident, we're gonna get sued. County Attorney's Office represents you. We have a ton of lawsuits. We have a huge division that does defensive litigation is what we call it. So they're representing folks that get sued. And there's the fun part, which is what I call the sword. This is the affirmative litigation that we bring in the office. So it's basically when we file lawsuits against folks to protect the greater good of Harris County. So we've sued a number of corporations. We've sued elected officials in Austin. We've kind of run the gamut. Let me give you kind of the highlights though. One, we filed a lot of lawsuits against large corporations, what we call impact litigation. So the idea here is it's not so much about the money, but we're trying to change corporate behavior. We filed a lawsuit against Juul e-cigarettes and two major cigarette companies. Raise your hand if you've heard of Philip Morris before. Okay, everybody in the room. Because the companies were deceptively marketing their products to kids, vaping products, right? You ever seen like the main flavors of vaping? It's like strawberry yum yum. That's not for us. That's for kids. So we filed a lawsuit against them and ultimately settled that case for $27 million that we brought back in the Harris County government. We sued Volkswagen over their emissions testing. So this was pretty interesting. Volkswagens, like any other vehicle out there, has to do emissions testing to make sure that the amount of pollution that they're putting in the air is in compliance with federal law. Volkswagen had rigged it so that if you did the testing at a facility, it would show a number that wasn't actually indicative of the emissions that was coming out of the car. But when you went out on the road, it was way more that was coming out. So many folks across the country sued them. Harris County was one of them. Great settlement in that case. We also sued opioid manufacturers and distributors for their role in the opioid epidemic, which I'm sure everybody here is familiar with. So these lawsuits aren't so much about the dollars that we bring back in, it's about changing corporate behavior, right? Trying to get corporations to act differently. Bucket number two is on the environmental justice front. We file a number of lawsuits over environmental issues. The most, I guess, common lawsuits that we're filing are against these concrete batch plants. So these are facilities that are hyper concentrated in only a few neighborhoods in town, and they emit this thick particulate matter, which is really just a nerdy way of talking about dust. And it's very heavy. So if you have a car in this area, you go in the house overnight, come back, it'll be a layer of dust that you can see. And people in these communities breathe this stuff in, and it results in higher issues with higher lung issues, breathing issues, heart issues, lower life expectancies, a number of things. And they tend to be hyper concentrated in certain areas of town. I'll give you a hint, there are zero in River Oaks. You're never gonna see them there. You're gonna see them in other parts of town. But we filed a lot of those lawsuits. We've also sued some of the petrochemical plants just for not complying with state law. The short of it is, in the state of Texas, the law is very friendly to industry, which is fine. It's the state we live in. But the state doesn't really enforce its environmental laws. And so we really kind of got out there on those. We've also filed a number of lawsuits against the state of Texas. Now, this has been kind of an interesting and active space to be in, because as you all know, Harris County and the state of Texas don't really get along that much right now. Some of our lawsuits have circled around voting rights. So in 2021, the state of Texas passed SB 1, which at the time was one of the most restrictive voting laws in the country. It was primarily aimed at getting rid of drive-through voting and 24-hour voting, which were mechanisms that were championed here in Harris County. Filed a lawsuit against the state over that. Our elections administrator office was abolished in Harris County. The 30-second version of this is under state law for the past 60 years in the state of Texas. Folks could run elections in their county either through a county clerk, which is elected, or through an elections administrator, which would combine the voter registration duties from the tax assessor and the election administration duties from the clerk into one unelected office. The idea being you wanted to professionalize elections. Counties across the state of Texas did it. We did it here in Texas. Folks in Austin didn't like it, so they passed the law abolishing the elections administrator office in only one county in the entire state of Texas, Harris County. We sued them, had a good battle. Ultimately, they won that one, but it was a good fight. It was fun. So we filed a number of lawsuits against state officials over issues like that. And more recently, we have been going toe-to-toe with the federal government over a number of things, but the most recent thing is the layoffs. So as you all know, Elon Musk, Doge, has been working very hard to put in place austerity measures throughout the federal government. In some instances, forcing people to take packages or doing mass layoffs, or in some instances, trying to eliminate entire agencies by just reducing the workforce. So we filed a lawsuit over that, got a good initial ruling that paused the layoffs temporarily, but it's also been for programs that are directly related to Harris County government. A good example is since the end of World War II, here in Harris County and in many places across the country, there have been these refugee health screening programs. The idea being that, obviously during World War II, there were a lot of war-torn countries throughout the world. People were moving across country boundaries a lot more. You wanted to make sure that if somebody came over here, that they didn't have a disease that maybe wasn't prevalent over here, but was prevalent over there, and we would have real issues. So these screening programs went into place where wherever you have a refugee that is legally in the country because they're being persecuted, so let's think the Ukraine, Afghanistan, wherever it may be, they're screened. There are certain health protocols that they have to go through to make sure that they aren't introducing communicable diseases to our communities. Program had been in place since the end of World War II. Current president got in office, paused the funding, cut the program. So here in Harris County, that was going to result in $10.5 million that was blocked, and we filed a lawsuit, and this was a good win that we got against the federal government. But once we filed the lawsuit, we brought them into court. They said, oh, actually, never mind. We're gonna let the money come back. So that program is currently ongoing in Harris County. We're very proud of it. One thing I've been talking a lot about as I go across the county is deed fraud. This is something that most people are not that familiar with, but the short of it is there are a number of companies throughout Harris County and really across the state that will go in and figure out ways to steal your home out from under you. They do it through a number of schemes. One is they try to effectuate a purchase, but they just get someone to forge your signature. And so you think that, oh, never mind, they just left and never stayed at the table and we didn't get the deal done, but ultimately they took your house from you. Another is fake notaries. So they will have a fake notary notarize a forged signature on a deed and then go file it downtown at the county. Now, for most people, if you have one home and it's the home that you live in every single day, this is not going to impact you. But sometimes people inherit property from other people in their family, and they don't tend to it every day, or they don't see it every day. So we've seen a number of these scams resulting in people losing entire pieces of property. But the main issue becomes if you steal a property from me and then you sell it to Andrew there, and Andrew buys it, and it's an arm's length transaction, now we got a real problem because Andrew has legally bought the property. You stole it from me, but what's the remedy here? There are a lot of different ways that this can be dealt with, but ultimately state law needs to be changed. And so what I've been doing is we've been going and filing lawsuits against these companies that perpetrate this fraud against people. One, to get a court order to require them to stop, and two, to get penalties so that we can put them out of business because they're scamming folks. So if your question is still, what does the county attorney's office do? Whatever the county attorney feels that day. But I got elected in 2020, youngest person to hold this job at 32 years old at the time. I'm now 37, balding slightly. But it's been a fantastic ride to serve as your county attorney. My favorite part of these conversations is always the question and answer portion. So with that, I will open it up for questions, and very grateful that y'all had me here tonight.
Why is that prosecuted criminally?
So it is prosecuted criminally, and DA Tier and I work very closely on that. The problem, though, is what I mentioned in my example, which is by the time it gets prosecuted, the damage has already been done, right? The home has already been converted, sold to a third party, and then in some instances, it's just a resource issue. The DA's office, and most, if you pay attention to the kind of government, they've been underwater for years now, and they're trying to deal with murders, they're trying to deal with armed robberies, they're trying to deal with the crimes that kind of keep folks up at night. And so a lot of times it's just an investigative lack of capacity, right? they're not investigating them, they don't find out about them. And so what we've been doing is kind of putting the county attorney's office resources to help so that we can investigate it, file a lawsuit over it, and then like hand a pretty package over to the DA's office. And when we do that, we have seen that they are willing to prosecute them. It's just a matter of prioritizing. And I think they've got their hands full. It shouldn't be happening at all. This is the other problem though, is, the laws need to be rewritten. It shouldn't be happening at all. Like, for example, one thing you could require is that for every single real estate transaction that requires a transfer of a deed, the requirement is that the person has to sign in front of a notary in the presence of the clerk, right? So you do it downtown. Another thing you could do, and this is like, maybe I'm 20 years ahead on this, is put property records on the blockchain, which is a decentralized ledger and like is going to track every single transaction that has ever happened. Another thing you could do is create a notification system such that if you are the name on a deed for a property, anytime there's a transfer of that property, you're automatically notified, right? And so then you can go and take action if you didn't authorize that. So sort of like ID protection for your ID and your other financial instruments. But right now, it's a very, very antiquated system. I mean, people are getting homes taken out from them and not even learning about it for years. 2 years later, they find out, oh, I haven't owned that house in 2 years. I think we had here, and then we'll come back here. Yeah. Yeah, the preventive measures are changing the law in the state of Texas, but anybody who knows about how the Texas legislature works, not that easy. We got a bill filed this go around by Senator Royce West based out of Dallas, and we were working with him very closely. Nothing got over the hump, but typically these things take a couple of sessions, so we'll keep working with him for next session to put some of those preventative measures in place.
I have that Harvey, I don't know her. And so she was, I think she was half because I pulled it all up and it looked like the warranty deed, everything got all signed. Basically, I said, did you, she goes, I didn't sell to him. I said, well, you did something because it's not in your name anymore and you did something. I said, what was the agreement? She said, the guy told me he was gonna give me $10,000, sign off everything, and then when they sell the house, they were gonna go ahead and pay her.
Yeah, that's one of the schemes right there.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, there are other schemes like renovating the home or renovating the kitchen. Okay, we're gonna renovate your kitchen and your bathroom for you. You can't afford it, so here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna sign the home over to me. I'm gonna use it as collateral to go get a loan, and then we're gonna fix up your kitchen, and then you're gonna pay me back, and I'm gonna deed you the house back. There's like 5 or 6 different schemes. That's definitely one of them. Yeah.
We had one right at the corner of Hope and Hayden. And the man had 2 trailers on there, the owner, and I knew him. One Saturday morning, my dog was barking because they were spinning wheels. And I looked out there and I said, did you sell your trailer? I called the owner. I said, did you sell your trailer? He said, no, why? He said, well, somebody put your trailer out, they already hooked up to it.
Oh, man.
So he came out here with a pistol and told us guys to step aside. They called the police. Police came by and they said, well, they said they're working for somebody, the owner.
Yeah. Those are the 3 ways to protect your property: the county attorney, the district attorney, and a pistol. Just gotta figure out which one works.
So I know there was a bill about revenue sharing from toll roads.
Yeah.
They've been under consideration at the state level. That appears to have died, if I read.
Yeah, it did that.
Were there any other laws that your office was monitoring that are still pending that affect Harris County in the same way that you said, a lot of state lawmakers will kind of do a carve out exception to change policy within Harris County from the state level?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so the question is, was there anything out there that was directly or indirectly aimed at Harris County that we were closely monitoring? So let me take a step back. Does anybody know who the president of the city of Houston is? The executive director, the head honcho? CEO, the mayor, that's right. Does anybody know who the head honcho is in Harris County government? There is not one. That's the answer. An important difference between city government and county government. City government, the mayor runs the show. We don't have a city manager, so the mayor runs the agenda. He's the CEO, he's the executive director, he's the president. Now he has a city council, right? And they have to vote on matters. and approve them by a majority. And they also now have a new authority to be able to put some things on the agenda if they can get kind of a critical mass. But for all intents and purposes, the mayor runs the show. He appoints all the department heads, including the city attorney. Harris County government is way different. So county governments have 60 some odd, well, at least here in Harris County, we have 60 some odd elected officials. And what state law says is they each have their own constitutionally protected sphere of authority, which means that they get to run their shop. I would argue they also have their own egos. I have to deal with them all the time. It's incredible. But each individual gets to run their shop, and nobody gets to tell them how to run their shop. Now, the budget is set by the administrative head of county government, which is not one person, but 5 people, Commissioners Court. Here's the crazy thing though, they act through a vote of a majority, which means that on any given day, that head, looks a little different, right? So I say all that to say, county government at a lot of times is kind of every person for themselves, right? We have an intergovernmental affairs team that monitors the bills that impact the entire county. My office, like we kind of watch out for the stuff that's gonna impact the county attorney's office. If it's super high profile, right, like a total road diversion bill, we watch it. And there was, over the last 2 cycles, there was another one. Right now, in order to raise taxes, you have to have a quorum of 4 people on Commissioners Court in order to cast a vote. So if you remember very famously, a couple of years ago, the 2 Republican members of Commissioners Court skipped out on the meeting so that there couldn't be a quorum of 4. Well, there's been a bill for the past 2 cycles to raise that from 4 to 5, but only in a county above 3 million people. So only Harris County. Yeah, it's good fun, good fun. That bill died. Toll road bill died. There was a bill to make the Harris County Flood Control Department state run. That died. Or to create like a separate entity as the flood control department district that's separate from county government, has its own board, the whole nine. That died. There was like some voting stuff that died. This has been a very interesting session because the House and the Senate are both closer on some issues, but when it comes to like some other discrete stuff, they're much further apart. So for a good example is the toll road bill. That bill died in the House. As you know, the mayor is a former state senator, so has great relationships across the legislature, but very, very strong in the Senate. And then that got to the House and died. So for the most part, my office, we kind of monitor what's going to impact us directly, but we have an intergovernmental affairs team at the county that like every division works with, and they'll send you an email saying, oh my gosh, the sky is falling, you got to send somebody out there to deal with this. But this was not a horrible session for Harris County government.
Second question I had about your work dealing with the federal government and trying to pursue funding and been cut off.
Sure.
Something particular to this neighborhood is a grant that we worked with Precinct 2's office to apply for to get railroad separation study funding to look at kind of our railroad intersections. My understanding is that that money would have been temporarily held at the federal level, but it sounds as though it may have been greenlit for them to begin working on it. Have you heard anything?
I haven't, but I can find out about that pretty easily and let you know.
Last update is that, it's in progress, the study is in progress, and it's gonna be brought to the community for feedback 126.
That's good. Yeah, so this is the other thing is like, with the current presidential administration stuff, at least for the first 2 months, stuff was changing by the hour. We would have programs that $100 million in funding and the spigot was turned off. And then we would, send a couple of hospital emails and then it'd be turned back on and then it'd be turned back off. So I'm glad that y'all are kind of staying plugged in with it, but it really was like drinking from a fire hydrant, just trying to keep up with everything.
The legislation that killed the election administrator's office, I know it was it only applied to us, right? For the population.
Yeah.
Did they put anything in that and other counties get bigger that it's gonna change, or those counties have to play ball with that too?
That was the entire question of the lawsuit. So under state law, folks can, well, I guess under the Constitution, there's been like these types of cases that have come up that have basically said that the legislator can set a bill that is what's called a bracket bill. It's based on some sort of characteristic that applies to a broad set of counties, right? But it has to be open, meaning that other counties can eventually become part of the category. So here's a good example. If a bill says all counties above 1 million in population are banned from doing X. That is an open bracket, because in theory, Boone County could someday become over 1 million people. Now we all know that's never gonna happen, but it could happen, right? If it's a bill that says, any county that has, more than 250,000 single family homes, right? People can grow into it. With this bill, though, what it said was, it was strangely written. It was a drafting error. We tried to kind of catch them slipping on it, but it didn't work on the Texas Supreme Court. It said on September 1, 2022, comma, any county above 3 million that has an elections administrator office, that office shall be abolished, right? And so what we argued was, and I think we were right on how to read it, what we argued was that only applied to the population of the county on September 1, 2022, a single day, right? Which makes it closed, because even if, Boone County grows into 3 million people tomorrow, that would not be September 1, 2022. The trial court agreed with us, the appellate court agreed with us, Texas Supreme Court was like, it's a little too cute for us. But if it's an open bracket, it is generally permissible under state law. But across the country, constitutions have what are called bans on local laws, which means that you cannot say in a bill, Harris County cannot do X, right? It's unconstitutional. The reason is you don't want legislators going up to Austin, cutting deals with people, and then passing laws that only apply to one government. But that's actually exactly what's happening. They just do it in a roundabout way through an open bracket. Other questions? Sure.
Somebody from the state come to the super neighborhood meeting to talk about something very specific that I think would help with here. It comes back to the deeds being taken out, happening with people who have relatives who pass. And then they somehow look up the obituaries to see if there's not an obituary for somebody that's passed and take it.
Yeah.
Able to explain a little bit about that, because I know a lot of people here have relatives that are, that are elderly, and we just want to make sure that elderly are taken care of, and if they've just passed it.
Yeah, sure. So what that probably was in reference to is I've been going throughout the county giving these presentations on estate planning. What we found is there are certain communities where 70% of people die without a will. And part of the reason is because death is just a very scary thing to think about. Certainly, I'm only 37 years old right now. So it's terrifying to think about. But for many communities, people will just never get around to drafting a will. And then they pass, and then their loved ones are left to deal with, the mess. And the reason I say a mess is because in the state of Texas, if you don't have a will, then the law goes to what's called the intestacy formula, which is just a long way of saying, I'll see you in court, buddy. And so any decisions that you don't make while you're alive, those decisions are going to be made when you pass on by a court and by a bunch of lawyers. So what we talk about in these presentations is there's a number of things you can do, but everybody should have a will. Full stop. If you own, a car, if you own, the clothes that you came in with, everybody should have a will. But there are some other things you can have, like for example, a transfer on death deed. Transfer on death deed is a document that you sign now, you get it notarized, you file it with the county clerk. And as soon as you pass on, the property interest you have in the home automatically transfers to the person you've designated as the beneficiary. And it's and it's a property right, so it's constitutional, it transfers automatically. Many people do that for their homes because it gets you around the probate process. You don't have to deal with it, but it can only be for real property. I always ask a question that lets me know why these presentations are so important. Does anybody in here know where you file your will at in Harris County after you finish it? County clerk? Probate court? Anybody else? Any other guesses? The answer is in the state of Texas, you don't file your will. It's effective once it's executed and meets all the legal requirements. But the fact that 99.9% of people have no clue about that just kind of speaks to the importance of these presentations. So if y'all ever want to have me back, I'm happy to come back and give you the whole, we call it lasting legacies. It's really awesome. We've done it, I've maybe done it 10 times now, and we get 200 people every single time. Yeah, sure. Just I'll come. I'm gonna bring the smart lawyers in my office too. It's not just gonna be me. But yeah, I'll do it in the back, and then we'll come back in. Yeah, there are some requirements under the law that they have to meet in order to be a beneficiary. If it's a transfer death deed, But you know, in your will, yeah, I mean, you can leave it to just about anybody. You want your will to kind of spell out. So there's basically a catch-all provision in a will. There's a section where you list out individually anything you want to send to anybody. That's like crazy because most of us have a bunch of stuff, right? Like, you know, who wants to be like, yes, this corduroy jacket I'll leave to my nephew. Nobody wants to do that. So there's a catch-all provision that you put in there that says that anything that I do not name specifically, I give to this person or these people. And the standard language, which I have in my will, is I give to my wife, but if she had already passed, then I pass on to my kids, you know, equally amongst them. But yeah, you can leave the just about anybody. Yeah, yeah, you should, yeah, yeah, it doesn't matter if the person is a spouse or a partner or not, just put it in the will. Oh, here's another question. How many wills are you and your spouse supposed to do? One each, two, three? Oh, okay, you guys did much better on that one. Two. So in the state of Texas, you can't have, there's no contract will. So I know a lot of people are like, my husband and I, this is our will. No, I hope nobody dies. It's gonna get ugly. Gotta have two different wills. Another question right here.
By which, the city and the county, collaborate on either legal issues or like financial issues, given the structure that you described?
Yeah, so the question was, is there a legal mechanism by which the county and the city collaborate, given the separation that I've described? So, we have interlocal agreements, which are basically these contracts that state law allows us to execute that says, we're gonna work together on this. And as long as one of us have the legal authority to do the thing we're gonna work together on, we can work together on it. So yeah, city and county collaborate all the time. But there's no requirement to collaborate. I mean, look, if you run into a situation where a majority of commissioners court and a mayor don't get along, you're gonna have a problem. You're gonna have a real problem. You know, the biggest things that come to mind is like disaster recovery, flood mitigation, how we handle our roads, our highways. You're gonna have a real problem. There's nothing by law that requires the cooperation. I think the real pressure is the political pressure, because if you don't collaborate, you look silly, right? And then it'll get on the news and you'll look silly on the news. But there's no like legal requirement at all. Yeah, it's kind of wild, isn't it?
So, question is, where do you execute the transfer of your home?
Transfer on death deed. You file it in the clerk's office. If you go to, I think it's texaslawhelp.org, they have all the forms on there. There's like a bunch of different, you know, kind of common estate planning items. I'm not gonna tell you anymore because you guys are gonna sit through this presentation. But texaslawhelp.org has like the 50,000-foot view of a lot of the forms, because you know the other forms are powers of attorney. Like a lot of people are super concerned about that. Wills, powers of attorney, transfer on death deed. Oh, here's a good question. Yeah, I'm just like hitting you guys with all the trivia. Okay. Do you put your life insurance policies in your will? I gave it away because I asked it that way. I'm so mad at myself. No, a lot of people don't know, but life insurance policies are contracts between you and the insurance company. So it's actually outside of the probate process. You don't put it in your will. How do I wish I would have asked that question? How would you guys handle your life insurance policy in your will? That's how I should have asked it. Everybody, oh, I put it on page 3. No, you don't. It's not true.
And also means though that there needs to be like a massive information sheet. So that whoever's on your list of people, like when you, I mean, like in our case, let's say our son.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to know about all of this stuff, even though it's not in the will. So the will does do the whole job.
Yeah, you're stealing my presentation. Yeah, no. So one of the things we talk about in the presentation is two things. One, you need to have all that information in a safe place, right? And that includes not just like how your total estate plan program is going to work, but also your passwords, right? Because a lot of people have a Chase account, Capital One account, Bank of America account, and the executor, who's the person in charge of making sure your stuff gets to where you want it to go, that person is in charge of collecting the assets of the estate, which means that that person has to go out and find them. So yes, you want to have it all in like a comprehensive thing laid out. The executor is like really the head honcho of your will, but more broadly of the estate process. And I always tell people like your executor should be the person that you trust the most in life, right? Like everybody has that brother who like you would never even let him drive your car. Do not pick him. I promise you it's gonna be horrible. But everybody has that other person, whether it be a best friend, a cousin, sister, whatever it is, who is just immensely responsible. Has the integrity, the utmost integrity, acts the exact same when some people are around versus when no people are around. That's the person you want as your executor. And that's the person you would want to know everything about your state. Yeah.
More specific question. Does a death certificate and, the will naming the executor give that executor access to the accounts and so forth, which bank accounts and so forth?
No. So for bank accounts, a lot of times it is specific to the institution, right? So different banking institutions have like different requirements in order to get access. So step one is like if you have the login and password, you're kind of good. Now you don't have true control over it, but you have access to it, right? But for a lot of these banks, they have like a form you can fill out that like, payable upon death, basically, which will designate a beneficiary. And it's similar to like a life insurance policy. And also you can like fill out a form to grant access to a certain individual upon your death. But no, the death certificate and the will is probably not going to be enough to get there. You're gonna have to go through the probate process, which is, when a court says you got to give this person access. But again, this is why if you don't have a will, it's gonna get ugly. I mean, and it's even if everybody's getting along, it's still just time consuming. And it just, it's stressful and takes time and it can be very frustrating and burdensome on the people who undertake it.
And then Eastwood real estate, so we do a lot of airship affidavits. So while, we purchase as well as we've closed deals with the airship
Airship
affidavit
affidavit.
in lieu of, the will. But then as long as everybody's all on board, then it's
Yeah,
all good.
yeah.
Just take that one person.
Specific to real estate, yeah.
Does financial power of attorney have any impact where that comes to bank accounts?
Financial power of attorney has impact before you pass, but when the person passes, the powers no longer exist because the principle no longer exists.
This is obviously a brand new subject matter. I'm kind of curious about the Supreme Court, taking back a decision they were supposed to make, but they found that the appellate court did not do their work properly. And what it was about was a constable here in Harris County, I guess, shot a guy. But the cop came to the door and he shot him point blank. And his mother decided to pursue that case further and found that the appellate court just used the 2-second rule of the incident. And the Supreme Court said, no, it came to that pinnacle to make that decision. You need to look at the whole thing. Do you know anything about this?
Yeah. So this was, okay, so this is a case, a gentleman was driving on the Harris County Toll Road, and there was an officer who had engaged him for a traffic stop. The officer told him to open his door. He opened his door. And I say officer, it was a deputy. I believe the deputy told him to exit his vehicle or to turn the car off. He did not. He then started to drive off, and I think just out of reflex, the deputy stepped onto the vehicle. So now the deputy's kind of on a moving vehicle. The deputy ended up shooting the man. He told him to stop. He didn't stop, so he shot him, and the man died. Lawsuit filed against the county. The case went up so in the federal courts, you start off with the district court, go up to the circuit court. So we're in the Fifth Circuit here in the state of Texas. And the question there was, in order for a governmental entity to be held liable for the actions of an employee for like a violation of rights, the first question is, were the person's constitutional rights violated, right? That's question number one. So the question here was, how do we determine whether the person's constitutional rights were violated? And, you know, what you're looking at when you're dealing with an officer-involved shooting is the Supreme Court has said over a number of decades that you have to look at the totality of the circumstances to determine if the officer slash deputy violated the individual's rights. And here, what the lower court had decided was you only look at the moment of the threat moving forward, right? You don't look at anything outside of that, right? And the reason why that's important is because the main question in the case is whether the officer created the circumstance by stepping onto the car, right? The circumstance that led to the man being shot. And what the United States Supreme Court said here is the Fifth Circuit got it wrong. They said, no, you should consider the totality of circumstances, so the entire interaction. You know, they don't give like a beginning threshold, but I would say what they're saying is once the officer pulled up and like pulled the guy over, you should consider that all the way through when the shooting occurred. And so the case was kicked back down and it's in the district court now. But it was a 9-0 decision by the United States Supreme Court, which is very rare for this Supreme Court, but they're all on the same page on it.
Thank you.
One more specific.
Sure.
I had an instance where I was pulling out from the stop sign on an I-45 feeder road. And a guy came barreling backwards up the feeder road, probably running 30, 35 miles an hour backwards, because he missed his turn. Slammed into the front of my truck. And when the police got there, I tried to show all the circumstances, city police. And the policeman told me that he was not empowered to make a decision as to who was at fault. So I took it to the precinct. And they told me the same thing there. And I said, well, what do I do? And they said, oh, well, you have to go to state police to get that kind of decision. And I said, I got to get a state trooper out there to evaluate these conditions and tell me who's at fault. And he said, yes, this is the sergeant at the precinct told me this. So can you tell me the reality of that? Can a sheriff county make that decision? Or do you have to get a state trooper out there to make that kind of decision? Because what it amounted to was about $1,500 added to my insurance premium because they wouldn't make the decision that guy was.
They didn't charge him?
No, nothing.
Huh.
No
And
ticket, no nothing. Huh?
yeah.
Still want to know who could make that kind of decision.
I'll just give them all my email, make an email. Yeah, so typically the way it works is if, you know, the jurisdictions overlap. So you have the city of Houston jurisdiction overlap with the sheriff's office, jurisdictions overlap with the individual constable offices, right? And all of them have the power to enforce traffic laws. If it's on an interstate highway, I don't know if there's a difference. I frankly just don't have any experience with it. Years ago when so I started my career at Fulbright and Jaworski, and at the time, this was 2013, a lot of the, you know, big firm attorneys, you don't really get trial experience anymore because all the cases are like $100 million cases, nobody's trying them. So they would send us down to the City of Houston traffic municipal courts, and we got to prosecute Class C misdemeanors all day. I did it like, you know, for like 10 weeks. And so, yeah, it was a bunch of that, but I don't think I dealt with any highway cases. And so I don't know. It seems odd because typically when an officer, you know, comes up to a situation, they're gonna designate like who's at fault, who's not at fault. It could have been they just weren't persuaded, which also sounds odd given the facts as you described them. But we need to know more to be able to tell you what happened. Okay, I'm gonna give everybody my email because I have a 3.5-year-old and a 1-year-old, and my wife is gonna smack me if I don't come back home soon. Okay, so my email is christian.menifee@harriscountytx.gov. You have any other questions, shoot me an email. We have an entire community outreach team, and they're all just as open to answering questions as I am. This was risky. I mean, somebody could have hit me with something I didn't know. That'd have been crazy, right? We survived. Look at us on Monday night. Yeah, christian.menifee@harriscountytx.gov.
Stand up on that, so I can take a picture of it.
Give me a second.
You know that moment whenever you're typing and people are watching you type?
Yeah,
it's kinda
right.
gonna
You
mix
just,
up.
oh, you put your money.
That is about what's gonna.
Yeah, sure. Hey.
So I have a listing, we're getting ready to go ahead and we got an offer, blah, blah, blah. My sellers, their sisters, they were given the house. It's in our area. The sister is the caretaker, it's the one sister, she's normal. The other sister, she's Down syndrome. She has a guardianship that says that she's incapacitated or something.
Incapacitated.
Yeah, and so that she can't make a decision on her own.
Yeah.
But she has a power of attorney. But the title company said we still can't close with that. Why?
Well, maybe the power of attorney doesn't address specific issues. So, yeah, so there are multiple types of powers of attorney. There's a medical power of attorney. There's also, the main one is called a durable or a springing power of attorney. And under the form that is used across the state, you have to put your initials by the specific type of powers that you want to give to the agent. So think of a power of attorney as a contract. And if you don't authorize the agent to have the power over like real estate transactions, then they don't have that power. They just don't. So that could be what's going on there.
Right. Is that right?
Is that right?
That is correct. Yes.
Got it.
This was the highlight of my Monday. Thank y'all. This is fantastic. I had a great time. Oh, one more. All right, last one. Remove an executive will? Yeah, so this is like an important part of the presentation, which is how to change your will. And the answer is get all of your copies of your old will, set them on fire, and then in your new will, reference that you had a previous, and I'm not joking. I mean, I'm being facetious, but I'm also being very serious. The worst thing that could happen is that you pass and then two different people show up with two different wills. So the way that I did it when we had our second kid, because typically you want to do a will, change your will when you get a divorce, when you have another kid, whatever it may be, is we drafted a new will. We said, hey, this will is dated May of 2024. We had a will from January of 2023. That will is no good anymore. Everything in here supersedes, supplants, replaces, whatever word you're going to use, everything in that, right? And then you have your will. And then you take all the copies of the old will and you discard, you either shred them or you burn them or something. And I say all the copies because when you execute a will, you got a lot of players in there. You got an executor, you have, if you're doing it right, you should have a successor executor, you have beneficiaries, you have a guardian. If you're doing it right, you have a successor guardian, you have a spouse. All of those folks should have a copy of your will, right? Because they need to know, oh man, I have something in here. Because again, you would hate to leave your house to, kid number 3 and they don't even know that you did that. All right, been an absolute pleasure. I feel like we exhausted all the questions. I am super grateful for the invite tonight and my wife is very grateful to y'all for letting me go back.
Thank you so much. So it sounds like having an estate planning workshop would be really beneficial. Just coming from personal experience, I actually have witnessed family members go through a really nasty will process. So please take advantage whenever we get that going so that you can see that your entire family at some point. All right, so we're gonna go through some committee updates. I was gonna start with special events, but because I know Kyle was, sorry, I'm not trying to put you on the spot. He gave me his updates via text because he was running a little behind today at getting here. So for our communications committee, the newsletter for the Civic Association is coming out, aiming to be mid-July. So just be on the lookout for that. They're going to probably looking for paid sponsorship so that we can, kind of cover the cost of that. So just be on the lookout for when that comes out. If you happen to be a front-end WordPress or PHP developer, the comms community would appreciate your assistance. And we also may be looking to purchase some new signs. We'll see what that looks like. I do know that it would be helpful to have some minimum lot size signs and things like that. So we're kind of evaluating what we have and what we need so that we can be effective on that front. So for special events, we do have 2 events that you should know about. On June 28th, there's going to be a coffee and conversations, location to be determined. So this should, whenever we get the location finalized and everything from there, we'll send out socials, emails, everything like that. So you can come hang out with us, have a cup of coffee, and we'll try to invite some of our best friends. Maybe we'll have Mr. Menifee come back and answer more specific questions. And also on July 26th, we are aiming to have an Eastwood Park play date. So if you have, I see some who are going to benefit from that. So, if you have neighbors that have small humans that they want to take to the Eastwood Park, we want to encourage that. Home tour, I don't know, I'm happy to give this update unless you want to. So 2025 home tour planning is in full swing. If you know any houses or want to put your house on the home tour, let a committee member know. It's right here. One of the. Yep. So let a committee member know if you are interested in that. And then also we have a picture here of Aaron and Matthew with Juan Amaya of the Eastwood Academy. He was a student of our recipient of our scholarship from the home tour funds in 2024, and he is headed to Yale University. So this is fantastic. So all of the work that we're doing here is helping Mr. Amaya head on to the IVs. Mobility, I don't know, Thomas, you want to speak to this real quickly?
Yeah, I don't have like a ton of detail, but I would just note on the Polk Street that Polk Street's been obviously a topic of discussion that our friends at People for Polk have been actively working. I think I shared previously our role is to share information on the ECA side, but we definitely appreciate all the work that People for Polk are doing.
I just want to thank everybody who called. We had over 230 responses giving input, and the average is 3. And they were overwhelmingly opposed to the closure. So I just want to thank everybody who participated.
This might sound a little nuts, but I know of 3 people who called who their comments were not registered.
No, the mailbox got full on more than one time, so you know that that's an undercount.
Yep.
And so just a testament that your engagement is definitely appreciated and needed. And that's how, if we're going to affect change, it's being engaged. So again, People for Polk, the social media team, the comms team, really appreciating the work that they're doing too, because they are communicating key dates and how you can engage with city council as well. So definitely keep an eye out for those sorts of communications. Sure.
The Polk Street closure, the one thing that comes to mind, that I know it's probably too late now, but isn't it also that said or applied that it's a major thoroughfare from the east end to down?
Oh, yeah.
So that one, and then with the one we got another major thoroughfare, Harrisburg, which has been channeled down with the light rail. Because it used to be this wide, now it's only this wide. It used to be 4 lanes, now down to 2 lanes because of the light rail. With the closure of Polk Street, we would be choking this east end of Houston. From having, and here's one last thing I didn't bring up, I will bring up. The east side of Houston also is the front door to the Houston, or the waterway.
Sure.
The Houston Ship Channel, industrial, all businesses basically come out of this side of town. If you have an idea to close that street, closure of Oak Street, which is the main thoroughfare again.
Yeah, we're all.
We're all aligned.
As officially as ECA, our role is to share information about what's going on. But as an individual citizen, yes, I totally agree with what you're saying. And again, I would say if you're looking to channel some of that energy, the People for Polk folks are more than happy to engage because they're the, I would call the activist arm of all of this. And so they're talking to. We are talking to elected officials and Houston First. But I would say we're doing it to keep productive lines of communication, as are the People for Polk, but I think they got a bit more bite to them than the ECA. So definitely connect with them. Follow our social channels as well, because again, you got a lot of information, and again, about how you can engage elected officials. So if you're going to city council and talking, the way you can approach them. The other piece is kind of a kind of hot topic, I think not as intense as it was a few years ago, but Metro, just based on kind of the relationship we built with them a few years ago, they still maintain, you know, are open to keeping productive lines of communication open. So we are engaging them on through the super neighborhood and through other means as well. So as we have information to share, we are encouraging them to come speak to this group so that they're engaging early and often, so that we're not caught flat-footed like we were previously. So that's our mobility update.
Sure, what's up?
I'm gonna ask, we're talking about Polk Street and Metro projects. Ever since Harrisburg has been closed down to one lane, all the trucks and buses are using Polk Street. What used to be Howard used to Lockwood. And the road is getting terrible there. They're patching it all up, have to go around holes that are created by the heavy weights. And all that stuff. My wife and I went down the street today, and it's not getting any different from the rest of the city, because of the subsidence and all that.
And everybody can get a quick update on the People for Polk project by going to peopleforpolk.com. Just all the words spelled out like that, people, FOR, polk.com, to get with the information on what you can do and how you need to. It is a big concern, right?
It is something that we're actively talking to all of our city council officials, anybody that will listen to us at this point. We are explaining that that Polk Street is the last major thoroughfare from the east end into downtown. We went from 15 east-west streets down to 4. 2 are now used for highway off on ramps, which leaves only 2. So
all the way
yeah.
through from Wayside over at Delforth Golf Course, all the way into downtown and just almost through downtown.
Yep. So do you want to talk to Tina and Lisa afterwards about Polk Street? I'm sure they can give you a lot of the latest, but we want to make sure we get through our committee updates here. But they are, I know that you know who Lisa is, she's right behind you. Yeah. And then you know Tina. So if there's anything more you want to talk about with Polk Street, they will gladly talk your ear off about what we need to do and strategy and what the group is doing next. Okay, so beautification. You want to come on up?
Hi, guys. So I have the fun part of especially things that no one can disagree on. Everybody likes making the greener, happier, prettier place to live. And these are just some pictures that we had from our May 3rd plant event. We did a selection of native perennials that we planted around the Eastwood side. We had about 12 volunteers come and help us out. It only took about maybe an hour on a Saturday morning, and it was great to knock that out because so many people were there. It went by super fast, but it was a lot of fun. This was just something that people suggested was something we should try, and it took a little bit of volunteer time, and we made it happen. So that being said, now's not a really good time to plant. I don't know if you've stepped outside recently. It's really hot and bakey. So we're kind of on hiatus, but we're already looking ahead to what's going to happen in the fall. And one of the really, really exciting things that I can report on today, I think Claudia Vargas might be hanging out in the Zoom call. But if you were at Spring Fiesta in April, you may have seen the sustainability booth. They had some seed pods and some examples. We got to talking at Spring Fiesta, and because we got to meet our neighbors, we got heads put together. They are helping us. We're working together in a collaborative grant application to apply for up to $5,000 worth of street trees through HEB grocery stores. They have a program called Trees for Texans. And all we have to do is put together a plan, and here's what we'd like to do. And so we're going to be looking at areas around local elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, particularly along Polk Street and along Dumble, are some of the areas that we noticed could use some shade and also create physical barriers between sidewalks and streets. So if kids are walking, if the car jumps the curb, you hit the tree, you don't hit the kid. So there's a lot of pluses here. We're hoping HEB agrees, and so we have applied. As of earlier this week, the board agreed to submit that application. Sustainability is going to be our partner on that. They're the lead 501, and we are going to be providing volunteer support. So look for information. If that does come through, we're going to be looking for volunteers to help us plant 35 trees, and I think that's awesome. We do want to brainstorm sometime in July, so be on the lookout for an update. If you have a section of the neighborhood that needs a little bit of sprucing, this is where we want to hear from you. And also, if you're just a green thumb person and you want to get out and meet your neighbors, we'd love to have your help. So yeah, that's our updates from beautification.
Thank you so much. You forgot to talk about your summer resiliency workshop.
Oh, yes. Sorry, everybody, I forgot I had a second slide in here. First off, Amy took this wonderful picture on the right, so I just thought I'd plug it in there. There is a program being put on by Bayou Preservation Association. It's unaffiliated with us, but it's right up the alley of what everybody got so excited about a couple months ago when we had Native Plant Society come and speak to us. They're going to be giving a pollinator workshop presentation, and it's a workshop where you can build little pollinator houses and things for your house. So there is a registration link. I don't really have an easy place to post it. Maybe we can forward it on our social accounts, but they do ask that you register in advance. But that's June 21st on June 21st, 10 to noon. And it's going to be led by Master Gardner at the Magnolia Service Center close to us down the road. So if you're in that mindset, we'd love to see you there.
The BayouPreservation.org, and then just forget all the other stuff, just go there.
It'll be on there.
Yeah, and I just confirmed with Everett, we're gonna put that on socials so that you can go sign up for that, because I think everybody wants to learn a little bit more about pollinators and making their lives better for our sake. So from a trains perspective, it's been a while since I think I've given like a trains update. So stop trains continues to be the highest reported issue within the greater Eastwood and super neighborhood. This is not just residents complaining. This is actually the railroads saying that it's a problem. This is the Federal Railroad Administration saying that there is a problem in the east end of Houston. The Galveston subdivision, which runs parallel to Harrisburg, is seeing 50+ trains more per month than we did in 2024, with 25% of those trains stopping for longer than 10 minutes. And so far for 2025 has blocked the intersections, usually between Altic and Sampson, for 128 hours for the year. This time last year was 188. So the trains are moving for the most part. They are stopping for shorter durations, but they still are stopping. So that specific line is very challenging to get around. I'm just going to say from a personal experience, I was walking my dog on Thursday night, literally got stopped right there at the Ironworks, could not get home for almost 40 minutes. Saw about 15 people run through the train. I wasn't going to take my dogs through the train. That's just very dangerous. So this is also it was 1,000,000 degrees. I had to decide, do I want to walk 6 miles out of the way to get around it, or do I want to just sit here and wait? So this is a continued issue in the area. Some legislation updates around trains. Our advocacy from the Trains Committee has helped push for $250 million at TxDOT to be allocated for grade separations to safely pass trains. This is statewide, so this doesn't guarantee anything in any specific location. So the locations are to be determined. I have a suspicion, I know the one that's going to be in Houston, I think it's going to be Griggs McCall Long, but that's a Lindsay's suspicion here. Griggs McCall Long, that's in South Union. They want to fix that so the purple line can go to Hobby Airport. So the East End Rails feasibility study. So if y'all remember, the committee worked with Harris County Precinct 2, Adrian Garcia's office, to put together a grant to do a study on the East End Triangle. And a heavy part of that study was, okay, so they put together their study, and then they bring that to the community before anything else is decided on, right? So they are in progress with that study. They kicked off in mid-April. They're supposed to finish that by the end of the year, and the beginning of next year, they are supposed to present their findings of that feasibility study to the community for feedback. And so that is supposed to be everything that's literally in that triangle. And if you don't know what that triangle is, let me know. So every single at-grade crossing at that triangle is going to be evaluated for what is possible. And quiet zones, Union Pacific has been working with the City of Houston and Precinct 2 to finish the quiet zones along the Galveston subdivision. The timeline is still kind of shady, but we're getting some rumors that it could be by the end of this year. So if that happens, that's going to be fantastic. But that's something that I know that we've been working on. I know it's going to make everybody's lives like just better just to not wake up in the middle of the night listening to train horns. So that is our comprehensive trains update. I'm sorry? I know Paulette's gonna miss it the most. So I do have a couple minutes for community announcements. I see that precinct 6 is here. I mean, sorry, precinct 6 is here. Did you want to say hello and give a quick update? And then of course, I've always got a million updates. You're good. Oh, did you? Okay.
So I'm Lieutenant Clark, I'm with Constable Sylvia Trevino's office. And I know that I was at one of y'all's meetings recently. We have a national night out coming up. I have some flyers to give out. That's gonna be August the 5th, but I'll give you all these flyers. And I heard your concern about the car accident, so I wanted to talk to you. Apparently, one of my sergeants told you that, so I want to get some more information. We also have hurricane season that's upon us, so I have these hurricane safety tips to hand out, and our vacation watch, because during the summer, a lot of people go on vacation. It's free service. You can also go online, there's a QR code that will take you to it. Fill out that information, and it will come to me through the website. They'll forward it to me, and I'll get it out to all the patrol sergeants. And we will conduct a vacation watch. It's very important to put detailed information. If there's been a car left there, some of them we've received don't have all the information. So therefore, the deputy goes by there and sees a car in the driveway. We need to know that that's your vehicle, or if you have a family member that's gonna be staying there, who's gonna stay there, because we're thinking your home is empty. So as much information as you can give will really help us out a lot. So that's the information I have. I want to be short
No,
for
you're
you on
fine.
that, and then I'll talk to that gentleman afterwards about this.
All right, so you can hang out with the lieutenant afterwards if you have any specific questions. Before I go into the actual meetings, I do want to share two things. We had somebody come speak about CERT training, which is Community Emergency Responder Team. And really in light of what happened last year with Barrow completely I would say surprised us in a number of ways. So what we wanted to try to do is see if there's any interest in anybody who wants to learn about how to become not a first responder, like the first responders, but you can be a first responder for your family and for your neighbors, because there's, 911 is going to be overwhelmed. FEMA's not going to be here for 24 hours. So if there is a disaster, so if you are interested in just learning things like how to do basic stop a bleed, how to take care of your neighbors, those types of things, let us know. Because if we get enough people, we can actually do an East End training on how to help others in some of these types of situations. And sometimes it's just a matter of saying I know what to do, and have all the emergency numbers and just being that resource. So I highly encourage that if that's something that you're interested in. I know there's a couple people here who've already expressed interest. I'm probably going to do it because that's just kind of the stuff I do. So it works out pretty nice. But also just something else to keep in mind is STEER is the statewide organization that keeps track of your checks in on you, and you can apply to be on the STEER list. So if you or anybody in your family, a neighbor, a friend, has any reason that they cannot lose power. I know we have some residents who have illnesses in the family. They've got people on ventilators, things like that. You need to add yourself to that list once a year. So now is the time to do that. So if the lights go out, they are prioritized to get their lights back on. So this is for people who need help. These are the people who have illnesses, these types of things. So we're probably going to put that out on socials. I'm sorry, not sorry to tell you I'm volunteering. And then the last update before we move into just dates of just various meetings that are happening. I'm not sure how many of you heard, but the Cape Center has been purchased by the police department. So South Central Station, which is currently on St. Emmanuel, is moving their headquarters here. Okay, so what this means for us is that they are going to go through a major renovation, I think starting in January, but I'm waiting on that confirmation. So in January, we're going to have to start finding another place to meet for a little bit. I don't know what this looks like yet, but I'm trying to get y'all ready for when this comes up. I have an idea of where I think we're going to meet, but just wanted to make sure we all know what's going on about that. So I don't have any specifics and details. All I know for sure is that the police department is going to be moving here, which is probably not a bad thing to have the police department in your neighborhood, but you know, it does impact where we are going to meet. So just making sure you're aware, can tell your friends and family and neighbors. This is always very tiny. I'm sorry. But these are some community meetings, events, community that are happening. You got Eastwood, East Lawndale Civic Club coming up. East Side PIP is on the east side of Lockwood. South Central PIP is on the west side of Lockwood. Harrisburg TERS meeting, if that's something that you're interested in. They cover a lot of the updates that are happening in our area, including Eastwood Park. The Easton District Board of Directors meeting, always an interesting meeting to attend. I'm always happy to share notes if I'm able to go. I saw some cameras, so I'm making sure everybody's got their pictures. And then just some community events. Christina Morales just announced a town hall of the elected officials talking about the impact of failed funding for community initiatives. That is on Wednesday evening. Harris County Precinct 2 is doing Tucasa, All Roads Lead to Home. So this actually is pretty interesting. If you want to talk about gentrification and Latino home ownership and evictions, you can go to this and they'll speak to you about that. Their idea is just to increase home ownership in the area. And then of course, our Eastwood Coffee and Conversations. All right, making sure everybody's got the pictures. Okay. All right, cool. And then with that, I hope that you have felt educated, informed, empowered. And with that, I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
I didn't hear you.